Perfect. Okay. Right. Well, hello, everyone. A few more people trickling in. So I'll just do a quick introduction. My name's Umesh Kumar, and I'm going to be running a workshop today. MSD UK kindly asked me to run a workshop on pitching, on your presenting style, on kind of standing out from the crowd, if you like. And that could be a physical presentation in person, when we eventually meet everyone in real life again. It could be a digital presentation like I'm doing now. It could be written, or it could be, in any other form. Frankly, all of the rules apply, but it's how you apply them, which is the real secret sauce. And so I'm going to give you a little bit of a flavor on how you can stand out from the crowd and hopefully raise money, resource, sales, revenue, whatever it may be for your business or your project or your idea. So this is me. Very, very quickly, I'm a serial entrepreneur. I think I'm on business number 7 now. I've run everything from a property innovation company that is essentially now a $50 million fund. I've run a travel company. I run now K&K Ventures, which is an innovation consultancy and venture capital company. I've worked in education, food, drink, you name it. I've probably been in that industry over the course of my career. And I've had the pleasure of reading well over 10,000 pitch decks, whether that be as a judge, as a mentor, an advisor, or a potential investor. So I understand what it takes to make a good pitch deck and a good investment deck, but I also have an idea of where the pitfalls and mistakes are. So hopefully I can guide you through that. But yes, feel free to reach out to me. You'll get the slides at the end. I believe MSD UK will send it out. And there'll also be my email address and LinkedIn details as well. So, if you ever want to reach out, please do. I'm happy to help. So very quickly, my promise to you today, hopefully by the end of this workshop, and I'll answer any questions you may or may not have, but the 4 things I really want you to kind of understand, and that is, what are the tools and exercises needed for pitching effectively, the secrets and the methodology, if you like, behind what this is, how pitching is powerful, and how you can, potentially maximize the impact that you have. And then finally, how can you use your audience to your advantage? Because actually they play a very, very crucial role in your business. So that's really, really important. So context is everything. And let me just check. There we go. So every interaction with your prospect and clients is a presentation, from the conference room table to the phone. Amazing quote. And why I bring this up is actually what you need to realize with your pitch, whether that be a physical pitch, whether that be a pitch on the phone, whether that be a report that you send in, whether it be a letter. Everything that you're sending potentially to a client, an investor, for a competition like MSD UK are running, is essentially an extension of you and your business or your project or your idea. And you need to treat it with the respect that it deserves. And too many people think, oh, it's just a cover letter, or it's just a very simple application form. And actually that's a big pitfall for you, because you suddenly get caught out that actually the product or service that you've created, you're not doing it just with the application that you've put in. So really, really important to think about. An amazing quote from Dale Carnegie. If you haven't read any of his books, please go and buy it. I don't encourage people to spend money if they don't need to, but all of Dale Carnegie's books, in particular, How to Win Friends and Influence Them, amazing book. Please read it. There are 3 speeches, and this isn't just 3 speeches. This could be a presentation. It could be a report that you're writing. It could be an application form. It doesn't have to be a speech, but there's the one that you actually gave, the one that you practiced, and then the one that you wish you gave. And this is really important, because what I've seen in my career is too many people don't take the time and attention to think about what they're saying, how they're going to present it. And then at the end, they're often disappointed when they went, damn, I wish I did this, or I forgot to say this. And it often comes down to because they hadn't practiced it. They don't know their content very well. And naturally, everybody gets nervous. They forget certain things. So always practice, always think about, what am I going to be pitching? Why is every word important, and how do I articulate that? And I'll show you some of those tips to be effective. So you will see in this presentation that even though it's about pitching, I will mention sales a lot, because pitching is sales. I'm selling myself to you today on why you should listen to me and why I'm an expert. You are going to sell yourself in a pitch, in a presentation, on why your company, your project, your idea needs investment, backing, and so forth. So you need to think of yourself as a salesperson first and foremost, not the CEO, the founder, the presenter. You're a salesperson. Really, really important. And you will see over the course of this presentation that I'm going to mix things up. There's going to be images, there's going to be color, there's going to be same fonts, there's going to be different fonts. And that is a tip that you should do in all of your different presentations. And that is, I'm doing pattern interrupting. I'm breaking up potentially a monotonous presentation with a bit of color, with a bit of difference, breaking the rules slightly in the mold, and that's hopefully going to stimulate you and excite you a little bit more. So you will see this imagery throughout the presentation. But really, any pitch that you do, whether it's a digital one or in person like we're doing now, think of it as a marathon and not a sprint. The goal here is to break it up into chunks. You don't run a 24-mile marathon by running 24 miles straight away. You break it up into the first 5 miles, then the next 7 miles, the next 10 miles, and then you're halfway there, and then you've got a quarter of the way there, and then you're in your final stretch. Treat a presentation like that. Think about the component parts of the start, the middle, the end. Think about it from the point of view of, what is the goal? Who am I talking to? What do I want them to come away with? And fundamentally, what is going to be the last thing that they remember about me and my business? That's really, really important. So a few facts here, and I think this is a really, really important thing, is people don't realize that public speaking, and this isn't just public speaking and talking in front of people like this, but even if you're pitching to a group of investors, if you are scared of it, it can affect your ability to earn money. In a corporate world or in a company, if you are scared of public speaking, you're perhaps not going to get paid as much. So that's something to really think about, and hopefully why you're here today, to kind of work on that skill set. And again, another fascinating stat is being scared of presenting and being scared of articulating who you are and what you stand for and what your business or product is doing could lead to potentially not getting promoted. Now, if you're the CEO of a company, largely doesn't matter. But if you're in a company and you've got an idea that you want to pitch to your higher ups, but you don't know how to effectively do that, that could hinder your chances of growth. So a really, really important skill set that we're learning today. And this is not surprising, but 74% of people in the US, based on a study that I saw, have some sort of nervousness and fear and anxiety around either a speech or a presentation. And I'll be interested to know, and do write in the chat if you feel that way. What do you think the reasons are behind that? Why are you scared potentially of presenting? And perhaps we can talk about that when we have time. So do feel free to jump anything into the chat. So legacy over currency. This is really, really important. In any pitch, in any presentation, in any form of you selling yourself, your business, your product, your personal brand, think about you. Think about, at the end of that presentation, at the end of that talk, at the end of that competition, have I left the audience with a little bit more of an understanding of who I am, what I stand for, what my business or product or charity is trying to solve, and do they then like it, believe in it, and want to support it? Don't think about, I'm doing this presentation so they can give me a £50,000 grant, or I'm going to get £400,000 in investment, or I'm going to get this board member to kind of come on board and support my company. Think about, I am telling my story to as many people as possible so I can get them involved in some way, whether that be by being a customer, whether that be by being a potential employee, whether that be by potentially being a corporate partner. The goal here is to influence and spread my legacy by doing pitches and presentations in whatever form, whether it be a virtual form or whether it be a kind of a digital form. Really, really important. So 10 ways to become a better speaker, presenter, and sales superstar. Again, as I mentioned, speaking, presenting, and sales go hand in hand. So number one, you need to understand people, and we'll touch on the power of that. 2, you've got to be able to ask better questions. 3, learning from the best, and we'll talk about who the best people are and what you should be learning from them. Again, practice, practice, practice. We'll talk about the 10,000 hour rule if you're not familiar with it. A/B testing, and we'll talk about how you can measure, learn, adapt, and essentially create a system whereby you can get better and better over time. Irvin, there are a few other people that I believe are just looking to be admitted. So if you could let them in, that would be great. Number 6, do it every day. Really, really, really important. Pitching as a mindset. By the end of this presentation, I want you to think about pitching as an everyday opportunity, not just simply as something that you have to do because you need to raise money or you need to do it for a competition. I'll give you the information and tools necessary, and I'll help you break that negativity that we all have around, no, I can't, it's scary, I don't like it, I feel uncomfortable. We're going to break that today together. And finally, you realize that you have an amazingly powerful network that you've barely scratched the surface of, and I'll help you navigate that world. So, understanding people. Listen, don't speak, watch body language, follow tone. So, in all great presentations, in all great, whether that be a digital, written format, or in a presentation like I'm doing now, actually, whilst I'm speaking, the majority of the knowledge that I'm speaking about has come about by me listening, by me looking at other people's pitches, by me speaking to lots of other people like yourselves to get feedback on what you want to have in a presentation. What are your biggest hurdles? So I'm listening to then infer what the audience needs. So that's what you need to do when you do a pitch. Don't just pitch me your business. Pitch me the problem that you're trying to solve based on the feedback you've got from other people because you've spoken to them. Again, don't speak. This is your opportunity to sit back and kind of go, okay, Q&A, ask questions, ask the audience member, where are you from? What is your biggest challenge today? What is your biggest hurdle in your business? And then take what they say and then feed it back in and give your 2 cents. Really, really important tool. And we'll do that as an exercise in a bit. Watching body language and following tone. As you can see, I'm standing up. I'm quite animated with my hands. You'll see me move around a little bit. You'll see my tone go up and go down, depending on what I'm talking about. Really important social cues to keep the audience stimulated, particularly now when I can't necessarily see all of your faces. Really important skill set. So this is a stat that I'm sure a lot of you may know, and if you don't, this is how we all as humans communicate. In actual fact, only 7% of what I am saying right now is going to be what you remember and hear. It's not because of the content isn't very good. It's because actually words and the way that I say things are not necessarily, or the things that I'm saying are not as powerful as the way I say it and how I deliver it, which is why I'm standing up, which is why I have hand movements. You are visual people. You have 2 eyes. You're looking at me. You are looking at my body language and you're hearing. So it's really important whenever you're doing any sort of in-person presentation or digital presentation like we are now, is to think about not only what I'm talking about, how I deliver it, and in what way do I deliver it. Really, really important. And again, if you're also writing a presentation and you're sending it to someone, think about how are they going to read it? Is it visually stimulating for them? Am I going to encourage them to enjoy what I'm talking about? Another really important thing to look at. So, asking better questions. Now that may sound counterintuitive given this is a presentation about how to give a good pitch, but a great presentation starts before you actually deliver it. It starts in the prep. It starts in, what am I going to talk about? Why am I talking about it? And why, and what is the research, the thought process, the preparation that I've done in order to validate what I'm talking about. So there's a book called Change Your Questions, Change Your Life by a lady called Wendy Nelson. Amazing book. You can probably find the highlights somewhere if you go on YouTube. But essentially, the ability to ask good questions will infer how to give a good presentation, and therefore how to unlock and shorten that gap between you and I. If I can bridge that gap and I can get into really understanding your problem, understanding your challenge, understanding the difficulty you're having, and I can bridge that gap, you're going to trust me more. You're going to believe in my product. So asking the right question can lead to an amazing presentation and in turn, a fantastic outcome. And also asking fewer questions and more clarifications. This is a classic sales technique. So when you're pitching to a customer, for example, on a product, say you have a pen company and you're pitching to a wholesaler why they should buy £100,000 worth of your pens, rather than just saying, how many pens do you currently sell? What kinds of pens do you currently sell? Why do you sell those pens? Ask a series of follow-up questions. For example, what is the most popular pen that you sell and why? What is the least popular pen that you sell and why? Why do you think it's the least popular pen? If you were that manufacturer of that least popular pen, what, in your opinion, would you do? There are like a multitude of clarification questions that will give you richer understanding and therefore make your pitch more compelling, because then you can go, well, great. Funnily enough, I have a pen that does X, Y, and Z these things. It's 20% cheaper. It's a lot more durable. It's made from a renewable plastic or whatever it may be. And then you've almost justified, based on what they've told you, why your product's better. So it's a really powerful sales tool. The other thing is mirroring and reframing back. So when you're giving a pitch, mirror the audience. Now, I know it's difficult in this instance because I can't see you, but if you're in a pitch where all the videos are on, or if you're in person meeting someone or sitting across from them, do what they do. If they're sitting like this, do the same. If they're very vocal with the hands, do the same. You mirroring them makes them feel more comfortable, makes it like you're understanding them, and subconsciously they can connect with you. So for example, a really amazing pitch is I asked an investor that I was pitching to, and I said, John, what is your biggest problem today with startups that pitch to you? And he said that they don't listen to their customers, that they don't understand how to articulate their business, and they never listen to what I'm trying to say. So I will go, So John, what you're saying is, and let me just get that really straight. They don't do this, they don't do this, and don't they do that? Is that correct? Right. I'm not going to make those three mistakes now. And immediately you framed what he said just by simply regurgitating it back to him in a new way. He now feels like, okay, this guy's listening to me, and yes, he understands where I'm coming from. And then you can deliver the punchy presentation that you want to. Really, really good tip. Use the audience, as I mentioned earlier, to your advantage. So learning from the best. So it's similar to the whole practice, practice, practice. You need to become a student, you need to study. So a lot of you have taken the step here by being here and essentially by learning. But I'm one expert. There are plenty of other people out there that know far more than I do. Look at podcasts, look at adverts, look at radio. They are amazing. All of those presenters, all of those radio show hosts, they're amazing at selling themselves, at being at home and at comfortable with their own voice, understanding silence, understanding when to pause. So copy them, mimic them, write down. Next time you're watching a TV presenter or you're listening to a radio presenter at home, write down a couple of things on a piece of paper about what they did well, how they presented effectively, their tone, the way that they, interacted, maybe particularly with a TV presenter when you can see their hands. Just jot that down and then make a mental or a physical note of that. You'll be surprised at how many social cues you can pick up. Another thing that's really good, and I don't see enough people doing it, is call up successful people you know, whether that be a colleague, whether it be a boss, whether it be someone that you work with. Really, give them a call and say, hey, look, I'm curious. You've raised £5 million for your company. What did you do to raise that money? Because I'm thinking of raising £100,000 for mine. I would love to know what you learned, or what you did, so I can learn from you. And you'll be surprised how many people will be like, absolutely, more than willing to help. So do that. The other amazing tip that I found personally that has worked really, really well is, yes, you can pay to go on a public speaking course and it will cost thousands of pounds, and some of them are good and some of them are terrible. But actually, what I call curated habit forming is much, much better. For example, have a routine. Before I do a pitch, make sure you're dressed up, make sure you're standing up, make sure you take a deep breath, make sure you go over your lines multiple times, make sure you stretch, make sure you have a glass of water. Have a set of steps that are personal to you and repeat that. And you will find that will calm you down, it will slow you down, it will relax you, and it will make you go, okay, I'm now in the zone. Now I can pitch effectively. So, do what works for you. And I'm not going to tell you, what habits you need to pick up, because everyone works differently. But for me, and I'll go into what works for me, a series of small little steps that I do continuously before every presentation, and I nail it every time. So selling your vision. This is probably the single thing that I've seen where startups pitching at a competition for money, for advice, fail to do. They don't truly tell me what their goal is. They say, oh, we do X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, I don't care what products you actually solve or what product you actually create. I care what your goal is. So for example, I was pitched by a startup, and they said, we want to make products for virtual reality for kids to make them more excited by museums and art galleries and so forth. Amazing. Very, very cool. But I said, that's your product. That's not your vision. Sell me your vision. And we did it 3, 4, 5 times. And eventually this was their vision. They went, we believe in a world where every kid, no matter where they are, whether it be Nigeria, whether it be China, whether it be in Bradford, whether it be in the US, regardless of age, regardless of wealth, regardless of upbringing, have an ability to experience museums, culture, art in the comfort and safety of their own home. That for me was extremely powerful. And that is selling a vision. How you get there, we can get to later on. But that instantly went, damn, I'm investing in you. So think about that when you're doing your presentation or when you're writing your script or when you're doing your pitch deck. Sell your vision. And of course, Steve Jobs of Apple fame knows how to sell a vision better than anybody. So practice, practice, practice. Very boring. I'm sure you all know this, but in order to get better at presenting, you have to put yourself out there. You have to be uncomfortable. You have to feel like this is unnatural for it to become more natural. And let me tell you, I've delivered probably about 10, 20,000 different presentations in my life in front of people as small as 6 people up to about 6,000 people in Canada. And you will always get nervous. You will always have that uncomfortability. But again, it's the routine and the experience that you get, which is really, really important. So for example, pitch yourself a pen, a product. So maybe later today, what I would love for you to do and speak to a spouse, speak to a partner or someone that you know, a family member, and just go, without telling them, pitch them an idea. For example, today I'm going to have a takeaway with my mother, and I'm now, because we talked about it, I'm going to pitch her on a cuisine that I know that she doesn't like, and I'm going to see if I can encourage her to go for it. and I'm going to try it out without telling her. But A, it's going to be a good experiment. And B, I'm going to work out what she likes, what she doesn't like, what things I'm saying that perhaps will resonate with her and what won't. So maybe do that as an exercise. And the more that you do that, the more you gamify it, the more fun it will be. And of course, repeat hundreds of times. The more you do this, the better you become. And also getting comfortable with failure. Look, I have achieved a level of success in my career, but that's come at, unfortunately, a certain level of failure. I've been rejected. I've been turned down from accelerator programs. I've had business opportunities not work out. I've had co-founders leave me. I've had grants not come through, and investment fall through at the last hurdle. But those failures made me understand, why did they happen? How do I stop that from happening again? And what have I learned from it? And have I become a better person as a result? Another thing to do is record yourself. Zoom and all these tools, you can record the video, watch it back. Have a look. Am I standing oddly? Am I sitting weirdly? Do I do a thing where I play with my hair? Do I cover my mouth when I'm talking? You suddenly study yourself and you realize, am I standing properly? Am I looking at the camera? Am I presenting? Am I too shy? Am I too quiet? And you become very critical of yourself. And then you practice again, try it again, record again. And over time, you hopefully see a positive change. So that's something I strongly recommend. A/B testing, measuring, learning, and adapting. This is the secret sauce that the best presenters, the people that raise a ton of money, the people that win all the awards, that get all of the investors hyped up for them, do really well. What they do is they do a multitude of different things. For example, I'm going to do this presentation like we did today. Next week, I'm going to do it in a digital form, whereby I'm going to just have a set of slides, but no context of me talking. Next time, I'm going to record myself only with no slides, essentially delivering the same speech. I'm then going to do it again, where it's a combination of the slides and me recorded next to it. And there are tools like, I think it's Loom Video, whereby, and this is a really powerful tip, by the way, if you send a pitch deck or a presentation to a client or to an investor, you can record a video of yourself talking through the slides like I'm doing now, and you appear as a little circle in the corner. So it's like an interactive presentation, but it's pre-recorded. That is amazing. If you sent me that as an investor, amazing, because I can watch it over and over again. I know it's polished. And if I have further clarification, we can set up a Zoom call and we can do an in-person chat. But that's a really, really cool tip. And also testing 10 to 15 options to create what we call data points, I think is really powerful. So for example, you do a presentation in front of your friends and family, and then you work out, well, how many people did this? How many people didn't like what I was saying? Write that down. Next time you present to them again, mix up how you present to them and see whether it had a similar or same reaction with that individual. Then write that down. And then suddenly you have 10 to 15 data points that you can look at of, when I did this, these 5 people looked bored. When I did this, where I got the room back by making a sound or by doing something a little bit out there, suddenly everyone was, oh, awake, what was that? Tips like that, you learn. And that's the art really of an amazing presenter and salesperson, is they're constantly learning, measuring, adapting, tweaking their secret sauce and getting better and better over time. Doing it every day. And so this is similar to that practice, but make sales, make pitching part of your everyday life. This is a brilliant one that I was thinking about the other day during lockdown, is pitch your spouse or pitch your child or your I don't know, family member on why you should buy a pet. Even better, pitch them on something that they hate. I mentioned the kind of the takeaway with my mother, but one of my friends, he hates cats, and I've been pitching him for the last week on why he should get a cat and how I've done it. I've sent him cute cat videos. I've sent him kind of cat sounds. I've spoke to him on the phone about it. I've had a cat in the background of my Zoom call. I've been testing multiple different ways. And now I've got to a point where he goes, you know what? When lockdown's over, you can take me to a cat cafe or whatever, and I will at least play with a few cats and then I'll see. So I've, in a way, trained him to like cats a little bit more, which is a little bit cheeky, but I did that as an experiment. Now imagine what you could do for your business, your product, your service with that kind of mindset and that kind of ability. The other thing that I think is amazing is negotiate on every phone call. And so, for example, if you're doing a phone call with an investor or you're doing a pitch for a competition, afterwards, or even during that presentation, go to the judges and say, hey, I have a question for you. What did you like about my presentation? What did you not like? What was the one thing that you took away from it? You'll be amazed at how taken aback these individuals are, and they go, oh, okay, that's different, because not many people negotiate, not many people ask. I saw an amazing presentation whereby I think it was a competition and I was in the audience, and a company pitched, and the judges said, we're going to award you a £10,000 grant as opposed to 20,000. And they said, I really appreciate that, but we asked for 20,000 for a reason. We asked for 20,000 because of X, Y, and Z. Unfortunately, whilst 10,000 is great, it's going to mean that my co-founder can't do this and I can't do this, blah, blah, blah. So we would like to negotiate on that. We asked for 20, you're giving us 10, 15. We can put in the remaining 5 ourselves with a bit of extra, cutting back here and there, but that 15,000 will take our business to the next level. And they negotiated in real time in the room, and they got the extra £5,000. That's amazing. And that is both confidence, but also sticking to your guns of, I'm pitching you for this amount for a reason. I haven't just plucked it out of thin air. So stick to your guns. Really, really important. 10,000 hour rule. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Malcolm Gladwell, but if you do something for 10,000 hours and you practice, you will achieve a level of mastery, whether it be violin, whether it be pitching. So I've probably achieved my 10,000 hour rule with regards to Zoom calls, as I'm sure many of you over the last year and a bit. I've probably reached my 10,000 hour rules in terms of presentations and pitches that I've given. So I would like to think that I've achieved a certain level of mastery. I still have a lot to learn, but that practice has stood me in good stead and given me the confidence to speak to all of you now today. So think about where you're going to put your 10,000 hours. Number 7, pitching is a mindset and not a job. This is so important. Too many people think I'm an entrepreneur, or I'm the CEO of this charity, or I'm, just running a small little project. That's my focus. The focus shouldn't be on pitching what I'm doing. Absolutely, it should. The single most important thing, as I mentioned earlier, is that you're a salesperson first and foremost. You're selling why your charity is amazing, why your business is better than everybody else, why I should invest £10,000 into your product or service, why this customer should buy your online software. Think about it all the time. Become the salesperson that you deserve to be, and you will see great success in whatever pitch presentation you do. And can I tell you, if you think about that mindset of being a salesperson, even when you're doing your written presentations or your application forms, you will be amazed at how the language that you use, the way that you sell yourself more effectively. I'm not sure where everybody's from, but traditionally British people, we're a little bit more reserved and we're a little bit more self-deprecating, and we don't necessarily big ourselves up. And there is a stereotype that Americans are a little bit more confident, a little bit more brash perhaps. And there is an element of truth to that anecdotally. And I think what we need to do is we need to go, you know what? I believe in my business. I believe in my product. I believe in me. Therefore, I'm going to push, I'm going to sell, and I'm going to negotiate, influence, and leverage my confidence to do really, really well. So think about that when you're next delivering your pitch, or when you're next writing it. Think about How do I leverage negotiation, influence, my confidence in myself and my product, and convince the audience, the investor, the judge, a parent, whoever it may be, on why what I'm saying makes sense? And again, this is an amazing thing, and I think I talk about it later on, but a sale is made on every interaction. You know, we're interacting right now. I'm trying to sell you on why you should listen to me and that I have some experience. And you are trying to sell me on why you're here and what your problem is, or what you're trying to learn. And the goal here is, at the end of this interaction, you've hopefully come away with positive feedback to me, and that you've enjoyed it and you've learned something. And I've hopefully imparted something on you where I've gone, yes, I've helped that individual, and so forth. But either way, a sale or a sale or some sort of positive or negative feedback has happened on every interaction. So I want you to think about that when you're next doing a pitch. I am essentially doing a sale whereby I'm trying to sell the audience on why my product, service, business is amazing. Let's give them a good reason rather than a bad reason, because either way, they're going to think, yes, I like this company, or no, I don't. Either way, that interaction has happened, but it's in your hands to make it a positive one. And also, this is a really good thing. Dress for success. Get up and deliver. For example, I'm standing up. I'm wearing a shirt. I've, done my hair as best as I could. I really believe that dressing for success is really important. And yes, this is a visual presentation where you're seeing me. But what I've started doing as a curated habit is, I used to do grant applications, and I was doing them slumped on my sofa in my tracksuit and t-shirt, and potentially hungover and half doing it. And the quality of my presentation was probably not very good. Now, what I do is I will stand up, or I will sit at the desk, I will get dressed up, and I'll go, right, I'm going to treat this application form as if I was sitting in front of that judge. And I'm going to give it, my time, energy. I'm going to turn my phone off, and I'm going to just focus on that for an hour. And then I've realized the quality of my applications has gone up, and the likelihood of me getting the grant, the investment, the prize, whatever it may be, has gone up. So I know it sounds weird, but even when you're doing an application, just kind of go for a walk first, get in the mindset and go, okay, I'm going to treat an application, I'm going to treat writing a pitch deck in the comfort of my own home the same as if I was pitching in front of a room of 30 people that I don't know. So yeah, sales and presenting and pitching and influence is a two-way streak. You've got to understand both sides. There has to be a give and a take, which is why, asking questions before your presentation to the audience, or asking a question at the start, or giving context like I did with regards to some stats, gets everybody on the same wavelength of what they should be expecting and what I'm going to be delivering on, which is why we did the little introduction. I gave you a few stats around context, and I also gave you my promise to you. So we're all now on the same wavelength. We both understand what you're hopefully going to get out of it and what you're going to take that's relevant for you. And I've made that, kind of important declaration of what I think is important and what I hopefully have tried to demonstrate come the end of this presentation. So number 8, leveraging information and tools. Now, this comes back to the research piece. People think, oh, I just do a presentation, I just do a pitch, I just do an application. And yes, I know my stuff, but can you do a little bit of educated stalking in a way? If I'm pitching to some judges, go look them up. Go, Google them, go on their Twitter bio, go on their LinkedIn, find out where they went to school, find out what their last jobs are, find out what they're tweeting about. Do they have a, I'm not sure if any of you have come across Medium, like an article form. Go read some of their articles, understand their tone of voice, their context, the way that they're approaching the world. The search bar in Twitter is the most powerful tool out there. if someone in the chat actually can do me a favor, and when I leave this screen, what I would like you all to do is put into the chat what your business or your product is, like the name and a one line. And we'll go back to how you can use Twitter and search to hone in on your business. For example, I run an innovation consultancy business. So I would go into Twitter and I would type in innovation consulting startups. And I would search everybody that is talking about that. And then what I would do is I'll jump into those conversations. I'll go, hey, Brian, hey, Margaret, I saw that you were talking about corporate innovation. By the way, I work in that space. Here's my 2 cents on it. You're building goodwill, you're building leverage, you're building your network. Really, really important. Do that for the judges, do that for potential investors, and then tailor your pitch accordingly. So for example, if it was an investor pitch, I go, hey, Brian, I know that you like coffee. Funnily enough, one of my clients used to be a coffee company. I've worked with the likes of Starbucks and Nero, and from that I learned X, Y, and Z things. I thought it would be an interesting stat for you, given that you're a big coffee drinker. Immediately, you've created a connection. They've been a bit surprised, but also impressed by your knowledge and your research, and you've hopefully narrowed the gap of you getting that investment or them on your side. Watching social behaviors. This is really important. Understanding how people talk and interact. So there are a multitude of different people. There are people that go, I see what you're talking about. Or and look at emails as well when they type to you. Sometimes they go, I see what you're saying. Sometimes they'll say, I hear what you're about. Sometimes like I just don't understand. So there are people that are visual, there are people that are audible, there are people that are kind of more intellectual in terms of feeling based. By you, and it comes back to my point earlier about mirroring, if you can use the same language as them in your presentation, in your tone, if you can almost in a way mirror what they are and what they're like, you will bridge that gap and more likely succeed in your pitch. The other thing that you can do is using automation and CRM tools. This is a powerful thing that you can do for a presentation. For example, you can use a tool like, I think it's Buffer, for example, and you can type in the categories that you want, and that they will crawl the web or Twitter and social media, and they'll find some of the relevant keyword search terms that are relevant to your business. So then you can pull them up, and then you can find, oh, that's an interesting stat, or that's a really interesting news article that has happened recently that's linked to my business. I'm going to put that into my presentation. So putting up-to-date relevant stats, information, commentary into your pitch makes you sound like you know what you're talking about, makes it sound like you're current and up to date, and ultimately, you've completely nailed your understanding of the sector, the market, and the people that you're talking to. Number 9, right? So this is really, really important. Like we as individuals and as humans are our biggest blocker when it comes to public speaking. Ignoring words. No, I can't. It's scary. I feel uncomfortable. I don't like this. I hate public speaking. How many times have you probably said, oh no, I'm a terrible public speaker? But actually, how many times have you put yourself in that environment? Have you just gone, no, because I just feel like I'm scared of it? The more that you do it, the more that you try it, the more that you get out of your comfort zone, the better you become at it. And I found personally that, rejection, you learn more in the failures on perhaps if I presented my startup and I got some money, amazing. I probably learned more from the people that said, sorry, I didn't invest in you because of X, Y, and Z things. And I went, wow, that's amazing feedback. I'll make sure that I will work on that, and I'll come back to you in 6, 12, 18 months, and we can go from there. So actually, don't see rejection as a negative thing. Leverage it to make your presentations and your pitch more compelling the next time and the next time after that. If you're not iterating it, if you're not adapting, as we talked about, and A/B testing and learning, then you're not making any progress and moving forward. Being positive, I think, hopefully all of you are all positive people, but, particularly in your tone, in your mannerisms, in the way that you're presenting, be positive, be excitable, be proud of your achievements and what you've done today and why your product's amazing. And that infectious positivity will connect with the audience, will connect with an investor. Because if you're positive and sure and confident in your product or idea, then sure as hell I'm going to be. But if you're not, there's no way as me as an investor or someone in the audience is going to buy into you if I don't feel that you believe in yourself, let alone your product. So really, really important. And again, this is a bit of a tongue twister, but remember, not no, but not now sometimes happens. So I've done a pitch. I used to, when I was 18 years old, did door-to-door sales in Warrington, where I was selling educational books and CDs door to door. And it was an amazing experience because I realized that actually they were not saying no to me. They were just like, I'm sorry, it's 8 o'clock in the morning. I've got one kid here. I need to rush out the door. I've got to go to work, and I've suddenly thought, oh, they just don't like me or they don't like my product. No, I've just caught them at the wrong time, or maybe they've just had some bad news, or maybe they've just got let go. You don't know everybody's scenario. So just because a client, an investor, an individual has said no to you, it doesn't mean they said no to you personally. It may mean you've come to me at the wrong time, or I'm not in a very good mood, or it's just not, the business for me. Fair enough. Can I come back to you in 6 months? Can I speak to you in 8 months' time? Would you mind if I keep you on the mailing list? These are ways that you can tweak, hack, and keep people involved without essentially pissing them off, so to speak. And finally, number 10. So mapping out your network. This is where, again, you're thinking, we're talking about presentation and pitching, but it comes in the preparation before and it comes in the follow-up and the execution after. That's where a great pitch and presentation is won and lost. It isn't really in the middle bit of what we're doing now. It's in the pre-work that I've done and in the follow-up afterwards that I will do with those of you that reach out and with MSD UK as well. So think about your second connections. And what I mean by that is, yes, you've got your business partners, you've got your immediate colleagues and founder, other kind of co-founders. But think about, who else do I have? My first cousins, my old colleagues that I've worked with, people that I know that is an investor in a different industry. Can I reach out to them? Can I see what they're doing? Do they have any investors in their network? Leverage that. Even pitch to them. It's a common thing that if you pitch to your immediate close connections, they're probably going to be very supportive and not give you the honest truth. Go to someone a little bit further removed and say, hey, would you mind if we sat on a call? I've got a big pitch and I really value your advice. Would you just listen to it and give me your 2 cents? 9 out of 10 times, they'll probably say, yes, absolutely, more than happy to help. So leverage your network. Putting yourself out there, right? If you need to kind of go, hey, John, Mary, I know we haven't spoken in a while, but I could really do with 2 cents of your time based on your experience here. Can we jump on a Zoom call, or can we grab a coffee, whatever it may be? And if you don't ask, you don't get. I think we all know this phrase, but by putting yourself out there, by pushing yourself, you will become from here to here when it comes to presenting, sales, marketability, and ultimately potentially growing a successful business project, idea, whatever it may be. If you don't know a guy called Gary Vaynerchuk, Google him. He's an American entrepreneur, very, very successful, bit of a brash kind of American, not everyone's cup of tea, but he does have amazing knowledge and advice. And he talks about this thing, and it's a book actually called Jab, 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 Right Hook, which is that give, and then ask for some support. So don't just reach out to someone and go, hey, I need some help with a pitch, or hey, I need some money. You've got to put in the goodwill. You have to play the long game. So if in 18 months time, you're thinking of fundraising, start now. Start thinking about who are my investors, who are the people that I want involved with my company, and start building good rapport. Hey, John, can I help you in any way? I know that you've been investing in other companies. By the way, I have 3 companies that are run by my friends that I think you should talk to. Would you mind me introducing them? Absolutely, more than happy to do that. So that's something that I strongly believe in as well. If you give, and then ask, you'll do really, really well. So for those of you who remember Ask Jeeves as a search engine tool before Google came along and dominated, this is a really amazing thing because, arguably Ask Jeeves was a butler. And if you look at traditionally a butler as a role, a butler is potentially back in the day seen as a very lowly role. It's a very important role, but isn't necessarily paid as much. And you're serving the household. But arguably, that individual that has just been giving knows the most. They know behavior. They know they've been watching, they've been understanding, they're picking up on social cues. They're the people that you want to be speaking to understand in consumer behavior. So you need to find your Ask Jeeves moment. You need to find individuals that all they've been doing is supporting, giving, mentoring, advising, investing, and go to them and say, hey, look, I know that you've got years of experience here. I would love to rack your brains for 2 minutes or 10 minutes and jump on a call. I've got a pitch, I've got a presentation, I've got a new business idea. I would love your advice. And if you'll be amazed how many busy people that are very successful will go, absolutely. Because it's how you ask, and more importantly, by biting the bullet and asking for help, people will be more receptive to supporting you. So yeah, I mentioned this kind of quote earlier. If you haven't seen the film Boiler Room, it's a great watch. I'm not sure where you can find it, but if you Google it, there's a couple of YouTube clips as well. It's early Ben Affleck days. But he talks about an amazing quote around a sale is made on every call that you make. Either you sell the client some stock, this being a kind of a finance film, or he sells you a reason why he can't afford it. Either way, a sale is made on every interaction. So think about that when you're presenting, when you're writing a pitch, when you're writing your pitch deck, when you're doing an application form. Have I truly articulated and demonstrated the reasons why my business, my product, my idea is exciting, is needed, why they should be involved, why it's going to be mutually beneficial for them? And fundamentally, have I sold myself effectively in that I am the best person, the best product, the best idea, the best team, whatever it may be, to deliver on this product? So execution is everything. You can do all the previous research that we talked about. You can have the most beautiful presentation and deck, but if you don't do follow-up, if you don't do the research, if you don't link it all together nicely and tie a kind of a string on that bow, you're going to fail. You need to do all of those various component parts to make up an amazing pitch and presentation. So to recap, 10 ways to become an amazing speaker, presenter, and sales superstar. And remember, if you're a great salesperson, you often will be a great speaker and presenter. If you're a great speaker, you will be an amazing presenter and salesperson. All of them are interlinked. That's the beauty of this. All of these things can help you with your sales from a revenue standpoint, can help you with your pitching ability to get grants and investment for your business. Will also help you with your ability to articulate what you're trying to do to you or what you're trying to solve to your client base. So you're not only earning revenue, you're earning income from investment, and you're articulating to more people what you're trying to do. Hugely powerful. So the 10 things: understand people, body language, how they interact, what they're like, what their mood is, how to capture their attention. 2, ask better questions. Listen more and talk less. When you do talk, ask them throughout the journey, what do you like? What do you not like? Why this? Why that? get feedback from them, and then weave that into your pitch on the fly. Learning from the best, listening to podcasts, videos, episodes, talks like today, just surround yourself with people that are really good at this, and you will pick up the nuances behind why they're so good. Practice, 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 right? The 10,000 hour rules. You need to, the more pitches that you do, the more presenting that you do, the more sales that you do, the easier it will become, the better you will become at it, and the less or the more perhaps thick-skinned you will become to failure and rejection and people saying no. So the more you practice, the better you are at it. Think your level of mastery, 10,000 hours. A/B testing, measure, learning, adapting. If you do the same thing over and over again, you will get the same results. Mix it up. Try a video presentation to an investor. Try doing a phone call. Sometimes I found actually that Zoom calls are tiring. Just say, hey, can we have a quick chat? It's a little bit more, less formal, a little bit more relaxed. There isn't the pressure of having to be on camera, and you can just have a bit more of a chat. Mix up the methods and learn, adapt, tweak, write it down and go, that worked, that didn't, I'm going to do this again for my next pitch. And also, don't be scared to go, right, I've got 5 pitches coming up in the next 2 weeks, and I'm going to do one this way, another one a different way, another one the same way, another one differently, and then over those 5, compare and see what worked and what didn't. So having the confidence to test 2 different things at the same time using the same pitch could be really, really powerful. Doing it in your everyday life, similar to the practice, practice, practice. You're not going to be able to pitch to investors every day. You're not going to be able to enter into a competition like MSD UK's competition every day or every week or every month. So start doing these little things, going to negotiate in a coffee shop, say, hey, look, really appreciate the coffee and this and the other. Like, is there any way that you can just give me a little bit more sugar, or can you put a little bit more of a caramel shot in there? I know it's extra, but if you could just put it in, I'm having one of those days. It would mean a lot to me. And you'll be amazed at how many people have said this. It's incredible. One of my friends who's incredible at sales will go into any bar and will always get extra shots in their drink for free, just by being nice and asking and having a joke and saying, look, I know that's a double, but it's been one of those weeks. If you could just give me a little bit more, I would really appreciate it. And it's amazing how people go, yeah, fair enough. So weave it into your everyday life. Think pitching is a mindset and not a job. Don't think of pitching as the last thing to do on your to-do list as an entrepreneur, as a founder. Think of it as the first thing. I'm pitching all the time. I'm pitching to investors. I'm pitching to my clients. I'm pitching to my business partner. I'm pitching to corporate partners. If you put that into your head that I'm constantly selling myself, I'm constantly pitching, your success and your revenue and your hopefully demand of your products and services goes through the roof. So think of it in a positive light. Leveraging information and tools. Leverage everything that's available to you. Free software, social media, what people are posting in terms of articles, what they're putting in their professional and personal blogs, LinkedIn, and things like that. Like, use what's available out there for free for you to get an edge over everybody else. Really, really important. And again, number 9, this is so critical to success. Push past that barrier of, I'm scared, I don't like public speaking, it's not for me, I don't like writing pitches, I've never been good at writing. The number of people said, oh, I was terrible at English at school, and I don't know how to write a pitch or an investment deck. I'm like, yes, you do. All you need to do is break that down into the various component parts of what a pitch is. Write down what you think you want the investor to hear, what they think they should be hearing, and ultimately, based on the research and feedback that you've got previously, what they've told you they want, and putting it in there. Don't be scared. Everyone has to pitch. Everyone has to present. And as I said earlier, those that don't like it and potentially have a 10% less in their earnings, and also potentially those don't progress when it regards to promotion. I think it was the stat 15% less likely to be promoted and therefore be more successful. So try and break past that negativity and that kind of scared nature that we all feel, because I promise once you do, you will get better and better at it over time. And finally, mapping out your network. So important. If you can present to your wider network and audience base who I am, what I'm all about, what my product is, I need help, I need support, come along on my journey, sell their vision, be proactive, give, jab, 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 and then right hook, you will win. And you will be in the top 3 to 4%, if not 1% of people that present if you do these 10 things. So that's me. This is my name. You can find me on LinkedIn. This is my email for my company, my venture development company. I hope that was helpful. If anyone has any questions, please do let me know, and yeah, I hope that was useful.
Brilliant. Thank you, Umesh. I think we do have some questions on the chat, so let me just put that up. Just 1 second. I'll take them from the beginning.
Fantastic.
So Patricia has asked, why are you particular about Twitter? Because you mentioned something about Twitter.
Yep. Patricia, did you want to add anything?
Patricia.
Did you want to add anything to that?
Myself? No, I was just wondering because, for businesses, a lot of people want to use LinkedIn and things like that. But I was thinking you're going to mention some other ones, but I saw that you particularly just left it to Twitter. So I wanted to know, why Twitter. And I had someone respond to that. I'm not sure who did respond.
Yeah. So for me personally, Twitter is the single most powerful tool because it's public, it's open, you can jump into any conversation. Like if you and I, Patricia, were having coffee together and someone just came in, pulled up a seat and joined our conversation, it would be very weird. But on Twitter, it's completely normal. And that's amazing. I can see any conversation that anyone's happening and jump in at any moment, add value to it and interact. For me, that is incredible insight. And Twitter as a tool is, people talk about, what they like, what they dislike, things that are frustrating them. I get a better insight and a social understanding of that individual or that company or the way that they're thinking far more than I would have got from their LinkedIn, which is very professional and blah, blah, blah. And also you don't see a lot of their interactions in the same way because of the nature of where LinkedIn is. Yes, you'll see some of their comments on other people's posts, but I don't get a great insight about them from LinkedIn. Same with Facebook. Unless I'm in the Facebook with them, and unless I'm a friend of them and I'm on their Facebook page, frankly, the number of people that are posting on Facebook now has gone down. The insights that I'm gathering from them is a lot less. So for me, Twitter, Instagram, probably the two biggest for a pure business relationship.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so we got another one from Al. Al, are you comfortable in asking Umesh yourself, or do you want me to read it out?
I will ask if it's all right. Yeah, I'll ask.
Yeah, sure.
It's this thing about time pressure. When you're doing a presentation, you almost always feel on the back foot because the guy has got a limited amount of time. So people are saying, "Oh, how do you do an elevator pitch?" So a pitch is always seen as something that's puts you on the spot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You've actually done a very brilliant presentation here. I salute you for that. It's great. But it's just, how do you narrow that and bring it to brevity, they say. Yeah, less is more, as they say. Is how do you manage that, the pressure that puts on you? I know you've also covered in your points here about doing research, being comfortable with it, and that will also reduce your pressure because you know your subject anyway. But it's this thing about that guy's got limited time. and you want to say the right thing so that you can have the next discussion then, so you don't get shut down. How do you manage that?
Absolutely. So this is the secret that most people don't realize. Whenever they look at a presentation and they go, it's 3 minutes, it's 5 minutes, it's 15 minutes, it's 1 hour, they look at the time period and then they work backwards on how do I create a presentation that fills an hour, or how do I create a presentation that is for 5 minutes or for 10 minutes. That's the wrong way of looking at it. What you need to do is you need to go, what are the 3 to 5 salient points that essentially I want the audience to know come the end? Is it one stat? Is it a certain figure? Is it something about me as an individual? Is it my ask of how much I'm raising? And then what you do is you go, okay, you write down those 5 things, and then you go, how do I talk about those 5 things? If it's a 20-minute pitch, I go, well, I've got 4 minutes per slide. If it's a 1 hour slide, a 1 hour pitch, I've got a bit more time. If it's a 3-minute elevator pitch, I have to think about how do I create those points and narrow it down so that I'm in that time frame. But either way, you do not negotiate on those 5 points. You just simply reduce how you say them so that it fits into that time zone. But you must say those 5 points, and that's what you do before. That comes in the preparedness and in the upfront research. These are my 5 points I'm going to get across, whether it be in a 3-minute, a 30-minute, a 1 hour, or a 3-day pitch. They're my 5 points, and it's non-negotiable. At the end, you're going to know what they are. And that confidence means that I've got 5 points. I know what I'm going to do. I know how I'm going to say it. I practice, and then you're all fine. I hope that was helpful, Al.
Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does. Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to do what Umesh has been saying all along throughout this presentation. So you guys need to speak publicly and ask the questions yourself. So Ellie is next. Elle, please ask your question. She there? I don't think she... Ellie, there?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi, okay, thank you. Yeah, so my question is, like, what happens when you're like super passionate and you have all these different ideas? How do you know which one to focus on and which to pitch first?
Interesting. Can you give me a little bit more context? Like, when you're saying lots of ideas, is this for a specific business, an idea? Are they all different? And you're just trying to work out the one that you want to work on? A little bit more context would be super helpful.
Okay. Yeah, you can see me now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I basically work in right now working women's empowerment. I love that you're talking about mindset, because I'm a mindset coach, and I do a lot of change your energy, change your life. So I'm very passionate about that. I would love to be a motivational speaker, but I have so many different ideas. I don't just want to help women. I want to help women with children. I've been in toxic relationships myself, so I work a lot with women and helping them with their mindset and getting out of toxic relationships and not going back to them. But I also love to help. I have a background in offender resettlement and rehabilitation. I really want to help them. I want to help single moms. There are so many different things, but it all ties into mindset and empowerment and building communities. And I'm very big on positive affirmations and helping people shift their energy. So I just feel like there's so much that I can do with that. And I'm just like, right, what do I focus on?
So that's a good problem to have, firstly.
Yeah.
What I suggest, and I'm also one of these people, I have so many different fingers in lots of pies, and I try and interlink them. So what you need to do is you need to go, well, what is the overarching commonality between all of them? There's a commonality there straight away, is that you're helping people that are in a vulnerable, challenging, or difficult scenario, and it's often around mindset or positivity or making change. So they're your 3 anchoring points. Just because they're different subsectors in different vehicles, again, it comes back to the 5 points of your presentation. I come back to the high level for a minute and go, what are the 3 to 5 things that I stand for? And they're my anchor points. And then how do I then create a system, a consulting arm, a public speaking, an ebook around those things. But so what you need to do is you need to go back to kind of linking them all, and then from there drilling down into, well, how do I do one, and executing on one at a time, because you can't do 5 things all at the same time.
Yeah.
But you can have 5 different elements that are all interlinked. And what you need to do is you just need to work out exactly how they link, how it gives you a USP, and what's different to you compared to what else is out there. And then delve into, well, now what do I do? Which vehicle do I go down? Am I going to be doing it via Instagram Live? Am I going to do it via blog posts? Am I going to do it by one-on-one coaching? And then what does that one-on-one coaching look like? Is that going to be, via Zoom? Is that only going to be in person? Is that going to be 1 hour slots? Is that going to be once a week? And then suddenly you're delving down into specifics, and then you're like, okay, now I've got my plan. Does that help?
Okay. Yeah, that helps a lot.
Brilliant.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
That's great. So the next one, we've got Mirnal. Mirnal, you had a question?
Hi there. Yeah, thanks. Great presentation, Umesh. Thanks for that. I'm probably comfortable pitching. I've done a lot of it, but for other people, if they're not so comfortable at it, they're not great speakers or whatever they are, should they try and get somebody else in, you think, to do that for them? So find that person who complements their skill set.
Yeah, it's a good question. Absolutely, they should. I'm a strong believer in working on your strengths, and ideally outsourcing, devolving, or partnering with someone that complements your weaknesses, right? And so, for me in my business, I am the non-technical person. I'm great at sales. I'm great at bringing people in and investor relations and whatever. My business partner does all the marketing, the PR, the social media, all of the technical stuff, because I don't know how to do that. So we have complementary skill sets. With regards to pitching, absolutely. I don't think you should bring someone in just to do your pitch because they are better at pitching. I think as a founder, you have to know your product inside out. You have to have the confidence and the ability to pitch what you need to do. But if you complement that with a co-founder or another member of your team, and you share the responsibility when doing a pitch, absolutely, I don't see any problem with that. I would rather hear from 2 people that have different skill sets and different ways of looking at the business, and go, okay, cool. That's the head of sales talking about it from that angle. Here's the founder talking about it from high level vision standpoint. I get both sides of it.
Thanks. And if somebody's kind of, let's say, a beginner, how long do you think it would take them to be competent at pitching? A month, 6 weeks? Depends how much time they put in, I suppose. Is it 6 months? Is it a year? What do you think?
I mean, it's a difficult question, because it's like, how long is a piece of string, right? But what I would say is, it comes back to, I think it was Al's point earlier, is the minute that you know that I can articulate the business or the product or the service in a 30-second, a 1 minute, a 5 minute, and a 10-minute pitch, and do that comfortably at all of those stages, is when I know that I've made it. So it is less about necessarily the time period of practicing it. It's more about, can I articulate the business over different time pressures and still get every point that I want to get across? Then I know that I've truly mastered that kind of understanding of my business and how best to pitch it. I think, if it's that slight cop-out answer, but do I think that someone could practice a pitch? And again, it depends. How much research have you done? How well do you know your business? Where you are on that anxiety level of presenting? But I think anybody in 3 weeks of solid work, research, practice, and a real, I guess, thought process around what they're pitching and how, can be in the top 5% of people pitching.
Mm-hmm.
It's a mindset thing. It is just putting down the work and knowing the tools and the steps to do it, which is the secret sauce. But within a 3-week period of doing that, anybody can pitch. Anyone can pitch any business to anyone. That is my kind of, thought process there.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks, Mernal. And we've got one from Rafa. Rafa, do you want to ask your question?
Yeah, just one second. Hi, Umesh. Rafa from Circle 8 here.
Hi, Rafa.
First of all, just want, excuse me, complimenting your tremendous session. Really cool. Thanks, mate. Very useful indeed.
Thank you.
I have two questions on two folds, if you don't mind. One, this one a person, but actually they're both personal. So I generally, my speech gets very fast, especially when I'm incredibly passionate about a particular topic. Obviously, currently it's Circle 8. I set up Circle 8 Recruitment Consultancy specializing in compliance, went live February. But generally, my personality is very fast. Everything I do is quick. So is there anything that you can suggest? I think with the maturity, I'm conscious of that. I never used to be, and I recognize that. Hence the reason why I'm bringing it up. But is this? I still fall into that pit. So if I was to do a presentation or a pitch, I know me. I start off slow, and then all of a sudden, it's like Tommy gun. Is there any particular that you can suggest in order to be able to control that?
Yep.
So that's the first thing. Second thing is I'm a big user of LinkedIn, and I looked you up, so I'm stalking you already.
Good.
So I'm trying to rekindle with clients and potential prospects. And what I've done is I've put together a capabilities doc, because I discovered in LinkedIn, when you send a message, you can attach a document or an image. So I'm doing that. But is there something particular? Is there particular words you would use in order to introduce yourself to a potential prospect, be it HR manager or line? Sorry,
Yeah.
I waffled on a bit, but
No, absolutely. So there's the first question, very simply, and number one, great that you're acknowledging that, right? That's the step one. If you don't acknowledge and you don't recognize that you talk really quickly, then that's one problem. There are two things that you can do. Number one is have what's called a trigger. So, for example, every 2 minutes, every minute, you are going to waffle because that's in your nature. Have an anchor. So, for example, you could go, put your hands together like this and go, and then maybe do that. And that is your moment, your little bit of silence to repause, reframe, and then do something. What I typically do is I talk like this to the camera. And then when I want to, and I'm realizing that I'm talking quickly, I'll take a pause. And what I'll do is I'll just shift my leg either to the left or to the right. It's very subtle, but that for me in that moment, I will kind of go, take a pause, and then I will carry on. And
sorry, is that your reset?
That is my reset. Absolutely. And I will do that. And I've trained myself to now do that, regardless if whether I'm talking quickly or not. Every minute, half a minute, there'll just be a little thing. And it could be a mixture. Now I do a mixture of, I will kind of take a pause with my hands, or I will lean, or so that you don't necessarily recognize it's happening. But I have about 3 or 4 different things that I will kind of go, okay, yeah, I just need to just take that reset. I need to just take that pause. You need to work out what's comfortable for you and do it, not necessarily, make it as obvious as kind of sitting down and then standing up, but doing whatever it takes to kind of go, okay, that's my moment of reset, slow down, and then carry on. It's also a really good opportunity. And we talked about it earlier about silence and dead space, and stopping and not talking is a really powerful storytelling tool. And now, if I could walk around, when I do my pitches, I walk around, and on that walk, I would kind of just pause for a minute, and I'll kind of go, then I'd stop, I'd reset, and then I'll go on to my next slide. So now I can't necessarily do that exactly on a Zoom call, but again, using your body, using silence, using the space around you. All of these little triggers are really good ways of slowing you down every minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, whatever it may be.
Is so that's deliberate. Then you're conscious, and that's self-coaching, that over experience that you've got to that point.
Yes, but I've got to that point because I'm like you. I do talk very quickly, particularly when I'm getting animated. So I have to know when to slow down and when to stop. Or what I do is when I'm talking on a slide, and again, this comes back to the analysis that goes into every slide. I'm looking at where in that natural break cycle in a slide where I just stop, where I take a pause. It could be there are 4 points on the slide. I take a little pause after point 2. So within a slide, within a certain amount of time, I'm looking and positioning in my break points, my change tact, change direction, change tonality, whatever it may be, and I'm putting them in, similar to marker points on a video or chapters in a book. There's a natural pause in every part of my presentation that I've deliberately put in.
Thank you.
And then on the second point about LinkedIn, so LinkedIn is a really, really powerful tool that most people use poorly, because I get a lot of LinkedIn messages where they just send me an email and they go, hey, it would be great to be part of your network. And what does that mean? Or really interesting content. For me, the best way of capturing my attention on LinkedIn is to write a personalized message based on something that you've seen or you've come across about me from another platform. So it could be Twitter, it could be a blog, it could be YouTube. What if you found something, and it could also be LinkedIn, but if you found something about me that's recently happened that you can search, and then you've put that into a LinkedIn message, I go, okay, there's been a little bit of element of research there. I typically don't like people that send attachments in an initial conversation. I think we were talking with Elle earlier. The reason why I like Twitter is if you introduce yourself to me on a different platform and then introduce me to LinkedIn later on, I'm more likely to respond to you on LinkedIn, because I go, oh, I recognize that person. We had a good conversation, or they touch base, or we've interacted in some way, or they've commented on a couple of my posts, or they've listened to my podcast, and then they sent me a message. I'm more likely to respond that way. Now, if you do just want to kind of go, I want to, email someone, I find being short, sharp, and giving value is really, really important. I'm probably the best LinkedIn invite that I got recently was someone said, hey Mesh. So they know that whilst I go as Mesh, my nickname and how my podcast is Big Ideas with Mesh is Mesh. So there's a little bit more informal. Love your podcast, love your work. I've actually got 4 potential guests for you. I would love to introduce you. And I also would love to know your address so I can send you a kind of a little kind of coffee capsule from my company, just as a hello from me. Cool. You know who I was. It was a little bit less informal. It was short. You gave me value and you're giving me a freebie. Now, I'm not saying everybody should send me some stuff, but I'm saying it certainly caught my attention. And then I click yes, and then we engage from there. So capturing attention, giving value, and making it short and sharp and personable, then you win.
I've found, as silly as it sounds, that my complete transparency and honesty, the fact that I've just come back into the market, it has really resonated. I think the transparency and honesty really does work.
Absolutely, 100% it does. But I think it's difficult to do that in an initial interaction. Like you can have an element of that, but I think that comes in the follow-up. Again, the LinkedIn invitation and acceptance is one thing. Don't just then, I'm sure you don't, but a lot of people just said, I accept them, and then I hear nothing from them. So they're just sitting as one of my many connections that I don't really know anything about. So follow up is really, really important.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Umesh, for your great presentation. And, there's some very, very valuable tips there for everyone. I wanted to talk to you briefly. I know there isn't much time, but I wanted to talk to you briefly about our competition, the Innovation Challenge, which is a pitching competition. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to quickly share my screen. It's a very short presentation. And just to let you know what is happening with our competition, the Innovation Challenge. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, great. So this is the Innovation Challenge, is a pitching competition that is open to ethnic minority-owned startups and businesses. And we do this every year. And this year theme for the competition is Better Ideas for a Better World. So as I said, is a competition that is only open to ethnic minority founders who have innovative products or solution. And what we try to do is put them in front of investors and our corporate members to secure investment and market opportunities. The competition is designed to promote ethnic minority startups and businesses and to tackle underrepresentation of ethnic minority-led businesses in the UK. And this year, what we've done is we have sort of changed the competition a bit from previous years and have aligned the competition with the UN SDG goals. These are some of the goals that are covered by the categories of the competition. And we have 5 categories for the Innovation Challenge. So the first category, which is sponsored by Digital Catapult, is Advanced Digital Solutions. And for all those startups that are in future networks, distributed systems, AI and machine learning, immersive technology, I would urge you to apply for this one. We've got Healthcare and Wellbeing, which is sponsored by GSK, and this covers pharmaceuticals, medical devices, health tech, therapeutics, consumer health, social innovation, sponsored by EY. And the focus here is on meaningful work for the next generation, future work, the collaborative economy, and zero and net carbon, in energy and net zero carbon, sponsored by Accenture, which focuses on access to affordable, reliable, and modern energy, renewable energy, and energy efficiency, clean tech, and energy infrastructure. And we got facilities and smart buildings. This is sponsored by our corporate member Cummings, and the focus is on those startups that are in the space of reducing greenhouse gases, reducing waste, and reducing water consumptions within buildings, but also smart buildings and technology for smart buildings as well. And these are the prizes that we have on offer. So we've got a £5,000 cash prize for the overall winner. There's £50,000 worth of scholarship for the 5 category winners. So what we've done is, in the past, and what we'll do again, we are working in partnership with a tech business school in the States. And obviously before the pandemic, we've sent those category winners on a week-long scholarship to the States to attend a course that focuses on early stage businesses. There's £100,000 of worth of corporate mentoring from one of our corporate members, Accenture, and this is a 12-month to 18-month mentoring program where what Accenture would do is they will come and talk to you as a startup or as a business owner and try to find where you need mentoring the most, without being into finances, marketing, or anything else. And they will go out and find that mentor and pair it up with you. We also have a 2-year free membership for all those that enter the program and the finalists. So the MSD UK network is a large network that supports ethnic minority businesses and connects them to corporates. We are a truly global network, and we got sister organizations in the US, South Africa, Canada, China, and Australia. So if you make it to the final, making use of this 2-year free membership, would be of great advantage to you because, like I said, we are a global network and we do work with a lot of corporates and a lot of partners around the world. And these are some of the dates. So the 30th of June, we got a day for the application deadline. 15th of July is when we'll announce our top 20 applicants. On the 30th of July, we will have our semi-finals. The 5th of August, we will make an announcement on the social media about the finalists. There's a pitch training event just for the finalists on the 24th of August, and on the 2nd and 3rd of September, there's the Innovation Grand Finale, I should say, at the MSD UK conference. And this is the eligibility criteria. So to enter the competition, the founder has to own 51% of more of the business, but the founder that owns 51% or more has to be from an ethnic background, as MSD UK works only with ethnic minority founders and businesses. You have to be UK citizen, resident, or an applicant on a startup visa. The competition is open to startups and SMEs who are at an MVP stage as a minimum requirement, and applicants can apply for 2 categories simultaneously. Applicants also will have to indicate how they're making an impact aligned to one of the UN Sustainable Development Goals. So this is the entry criteria for the competition. And if you've got any questions, please do ask. And what I'll do is I'll put the link to the competition page on the chat. Okay, guys, if you haven't got any more questions, I'd like to thank Umesh again for the brilliant presentation, and I'd like to thank you all for attending this workshop today. I hope to see you at other events that we will organize in the future. So Umesh, we will be in touch again. Thank you very much again, and take care, everyone.